Let's enjoy the sounds of the bell before we begin. Difference. Today is Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. We are at Truc Temple, Austin, Texas. This is our second day of mindfulness retreat camp. This morning I'd like to share with you on the topic of right faith is the energy sources of life. So we know that energies is the strength and vitality that requires to sustain the physical and mental activities. According to the law of energy can convert to form, but never created or destroyed. So you can see that energy is very important in sustaining our body and mind. So which means whatever energies that we restore, we cultivate and accumulate and collect, it can lead to positive form or negative form. Because energy doesn't destroy, it stays in our body. We collect energy through the food we eat, through the beverage we drink, and through the action of our thinking, of our speech, and of our body. Those are the energies that we collect to sustain this physical and mental activity throughout our day. So it's important that what we eat, what we drink, what we think, what we say, and how we act, because it will convert into the form that we eat, convert to the food, the drink the beverage that we drink, and convert to what we say, what we think, and what we act. So we are the person who form that energies. There is no other sources. And so I'd like to demonstrate one of the faith or the practice that can help you to cultivate this good energies. It's called right faith energies. Faith is one of the 5 spiritual power, like inner power, in the Buddhist study. The first one is faith. Second one is diligence or effort. The third is mindfulness. The fourth is concentration. And the fifth is wisdom. These are the 5 inner energies. These are the 5 spiritual energies. And we know the spiritual energy is stronger, is sustained longer than the physical energies. You may have physical energy, you may have the strength, but if you don't have the inner power strength, the effort, the faith, the mindfulness, the concentration, and the wisdom, then that strength does not carry forward. Because you don't have belief, you don't have the hope, you're suffering in your own problems. So being a very strong does not mean you can carry the test far. But let's say you are a medium-sized person, not too strong, not too weak, or even you are a little weak, but you have a very strong inner powers. You believe in yourself. You have the motivation. You have the mindfulness, the concentration, the wisdom. You overcome that. You overcome the difficulties and you strike very far. And you can become whatever you want to because you believe in yourself and you have that inner force power, the mindfulness, the concentration, the wisdom, and the effort to motivate you, to push you, to direct you in the direction that you want to. So you start building your inner force first so that you have a strong force, energies that are projecting outside. And that energy is very important. We're not going to go all 5 inner energies or spiritual energies, but we will only discuss the faith energies. You know, having faith is very important. And faith had to be based on belief in yourself, in your parents, in the 3 jewels. And a person who don't have faith, or a person who doesn't have faith, will be very lonely, vague, and despair, and lack of confidence, lack of hope. Is that true? And Buddhists describe a person who don't have faith as like a person who is homeless, doesn't have a home, doesn't have a shelter to take refuge. And so that person is always confused and lost in the world and always live on the expectation of someone else because they think that they have to do this to be like that. But in reality, that's not true because your own self, you only understand yourself, no one else. And so you know what is best and what you need to do to be productive and to be constructive. But faith based on wrong faith, like you have fanatics believe, wrong doctrines believe, faith had discrimination or prejudice. If there are hatreds involved in your faith, discrimination, anger, and delusion, ignorant arrogance, and wrong doctrines, then that is not faith. So faith does not based on superstition or blind belief. Faith has to be a right faith, right belief. So not all faith is right faith. So we have to highlight this. Faith had to be based on right faith in Buddhist study. It has to be right faith. You believe in a certain way that you see the beauty in diversity. You see the beauty in yourself. You see the beauty in your parents. You see the beauty in the 3 jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha, that are helping you lead in your right path. You see the beauty in the spiritual teacher, in your friends, in the world that you live in. It had to show that beauty in your faith. And that faith has to be based on productive and constructive and benefit to you and to everyone as a whole. If your belief and your faith is based on the right faith, then you are strongly grounded and you will never feel loneliness, you will never lost despair and lack of confidence. And whatever you do, you project this right energies, the good energies that benefit everyone. But how do we build right faith? So in the Buddhist study, right faith has to be based on the 3 jewels, believe in the 3 jewels as a foundation to build right faith for you. And so the first jewel is the Buddha jewel, the second jewel is Dharma jewel, and third jewel is Sangha Jewel. And if every one of you had take refuge in the 3 jewels and become a Buddhist, so you know these 3 jewels. So the first jewels and the first way to establish right faith, to build a strong foundation in our belief, is taking refuge in the Buddha for guidance. So taking refuge in the Buddha for guidance, it said that I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way of life. We know the Buddha is historical fact figures, right? He is truly exists in the world, and there's history about him. The scientists have proved that. So he was Prince Siddhartha, his birth name Siddhartha Gautama Sakya, a prince of India. If he would live today, he would be over 2,600 years old. And his teaching is still alive and still living and still attracted by many people, young as old, Eastern and Western. So you can see that Buddhism is beyond religion, is the path to awakening and enlightenment. So we have to take refuge in him first, to believe that Buddha exists, to believe that he had practiced for 6 years in order for him to reach enlightenment in this life, but many lives before the previous life before that. He had practiced strenuously, continuing his practice, and act as a Bodhisattva in order for him to become enlightened at this life. And so when he had everything in life, he's a prince, he had a lovely wife, a beautiful son, and he had a very luxurious life. But yet he realized that in life there is suffering. But how do he find the way? How can he find the way to help to free the suffering? Because life is suffering. But that doesn't mean that life is suffering, there is no happiness. Because there is suffering, that's why there is happiness. But you have to see that. You have to practice, and you have to find a way to reach happiness. So suffering and happiness are in parallel, it's going side by side. So happiness can happen at the same time as suffering, or suffering can happen at the same time as happiness. They both are parallel, they both go in hand together. Both exist at the same time, but we have to see that. Like for example, when you go out there on a midday, it's very hot. That's suffering. But when you enter into this meditation hall, you feel the cool air, that's happiness. So you have this decision to choose happiness or suffering, right? Because happiness and suffering can happen at the same time. So he sees that even though his life go through is very, well, he had everything he wants, but he knows there is suffering exists. Through age, through aging, sickness, death, we all go through that. So when he saw that, he know one day it will be like that. So he left his prince life and go and search for a master to learn. So he studied with 2 great masters at the time, but none of the masters can help him reach the highest stage of meditation, to free from all affliction and suffering and understand the true of reality of life. So when he mastered all that teaching on the other two masters, he left them and searched within himself. And that's when he sat under the boat tree for 49 days and had to understand himself so that he can understand the world around him. So through that 49 days, he reached enlightenment. He reached full enlightenment, or full awakening bliss. So Buddha means the one who is awakened. Buddha is an awakening being. And he said that we all had capacity to become a Buddha like him. It's reached full enlightenment just like the Buddha had reached. No supreme beings, leader, spiritual leader has said that like the Buddha. So you can see Buddha is very compassionate. He put himself and us at the same level. Which means give us hope and confidence that we can become enlightened just like him if we choose and practice the right path, if we strengthen our practice in our spirituality. So first we have to take refuge in him, believe him a true figure, the enlightened beings. So once you take refuge in Buddha, according to Sutra, you would never take refuge in devil or angel and never fall in a dark realms. Because you believe in yourself that you also have that Buddha nature in you. And the Buddha nature embodied of compassion, loving kindness, joy, equanimity, non-discrimination mind. All the wonderful things is already in us, and we can cultivate that as well. And while we cultivate fully, we reach enlightenment like him. So therefore, we never feel lonely, we never feel despair, and fall in a dark realms. So when we believe in the Buddha that exists, and we believe that we have a Buddha nature in us, and we want to cultivate that Buddha nature, then we have to draw it into our Buddha nature. And the second part, taking refuge in Buddha, is drawing in the refuge of Buddha. I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. When you take refuge in the Buddha, you will truly see that you have a clear path, and you will truly see what you want to do in this world, how you want to see yourself in this world. It's automatically give you this clear sight. And so, want to cultivate that Buddha nature in you, and the seed of understanding, compassion, love, joy is automatically present, and other negative seeds like jealousy, anger, delusion, ignorance, hatred, are diminished. They sink down deep into your consciousness. So in us, there are seeds of wholesome and seeds of unwholesome. We have to see ourselves like a field that plant all kinds of seeds. But in order to select the right seed, we have to awake our Buddha nature in us at every moment. We have to draw it into our nature. So sometimes that you're angry at something, then you lost that Buddha nature, and now you act with violence and hatred. But when you draw into your Buddha nature, you will never go wrong. You know who you are and what you need to do to be beneficial for yourself and others. So it's very important that we have to draw in our Buddha nature and believe in ourselves that we have a wonderful seeds of love, compassion, kindness, generosity. And so the first, we take refuge in the Buddha, believe in self. And second, we have to draw it into our Buddha seed, our Buddha nature, in order to cultivate the wonderful seeds. And now the third, we take refuge in the Buddha in myself. I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. So when you take refuge in the Buddha in yourself, because the Buddha said we have capacity to become Buddha, so we have the Buddha nature in ourselves, and we believe in that, and we awaken from that ignorance, arrogance, and hatred and discrimination mind. Now we only have the seed of love, compassion, kindness, confidence, and hope. Well, our job, we have to share that to someone else. Especially a kid like you, at teenager age, and even adults too. We do go through a very difficult moment. And for yourself, teenager, you're going through this stage that you're developing psychologically, biologically, and physiologically. And so your self is always changing. And so that sometimes it makes us trigger our mood and also make it feel uncomfortable. And sometimes we don't know why we're like that, why we say and act like that. But that's because of chemicals or hormone is changing, and so we're affected by it. But when we practice and we draw it into the Buddha, we can overcome that. And so it's probably only triggered for a few minutes, but after that few minutes we overcome. So we have to believe in that, and then we have to let other people believe in that, or friends, or peers believe in that. And if we don't let our friends see that, and then our friend might can be lost and confused, and both teenager. You probably heard about the news on the fatal shooting, the mass shooting in Texas at the elementary school, in Venerable Elementary School. And that young man, who is only 18 years old, and just when he turned 18 years old, he bought a gun and went to the elementary school and shot all the kids in the room, and he was fatally shot. How many? 19? A kid, 19 elementary student and 3 teachers. And when I searched on his behavior, I found that when he was young in elementary school, he was bullied by his peer. And so that was suppressing in his feeling. He had no one to, maybe he doesn't have anyone to talk to. He doesn't have a way to escape this feeling of hatred and angry. And I'm sure he didn't have love from his family as well too, because if he had love from his family, he probably would not act like that. And so maybe his parent was not understanding him, didn't have time for him. I don't know, because he shot his grandmother as well too. But luckily she survived, but she might not speak. So how do you explain an action like that? You can't just explain because he's mentally illness and to conclude that and not taking any action. It's not just he's mentally illness. It's just that he was not taken care well, and he doesn't know how to resolve his own problem when he was young and suppressing the angry feelings in him. And so when he had the capacity to buy the gun at the right age, to buy the gun, he just to do the action that to express his angry feeling. So already you see yourself as very lucky to come to this retreat, to come together and share our practice and to motivate one another. What we do here is all about the well-being of the body and mind, of feel connected to one another. And when we connect to one another, then we see our true self, we believe in ourselves, and we can resolve the problem we are going through. And only us can resolve that. If if we give ourselves a chance to pause and to think and to reflect on. So you can see that in Buddhism it's very compassionate, understanding, and religious. It's that you not only practice for yourself, but you have to help others to practice, to reach enlightenment, to reach awakening and awareness. And according to the Jewel of Buddha, I read 3 part. And Sutra, the Buddha's teaching said that in order for someone to reach fully enlightenment, one must reach enlightenment first and help others to reach enlightenment in order to reach full enlightenment. So let's say you reach enlightenment, but you're not helping other person to reach enlightenment, then you are not fully enlightenment. And the Buddha have done that through his Buddhist action. So please always manifest your Buddha nature beautifully, that everyone can see you in your action, in your thinking, and in your speech. Now, always think positive. Believe in yourself. No one believes in yourself, but only you. No one understands yourself, but only you. But in order to do that, you have to have this clarity and insight and peace to really see your true self. Manifest your beautiful body through your speech. Speak kind, confident. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. If you see someone who is despair and lack of hope, come and confident. And I saw a man was crying during breakfast, really crying. I heard that he missed his mom, he's homesick. And one young gentleman wearing glasses over there, he came twice to check on Ben. I'm not sure if he related to Ben or not, but whether or not he had done the right thing, he came and checked on Ben. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. What's your name? Bosco. So Bosco came and checked on Ben. And then Ben assured him that he was okay now, and so he walked away. But then he come back again, offered Ben something to eat. And I'm happy to do that. So not just one time, he did it twice. And sometimes, if you have the motivation, you do 3. So sometimes when you come and you saw someone who is crying or who is sad, and you come and you tell them, what can I do for you? And that person might reject you because he or she's not ready. And so you walk away. But don't give up on that person. That person needs help. And sometimes they're shy. And with your consistent, with your love, you can come back a second time, third time, fourth time, whatever time until that person, can talk to you, can share his problem, or his problem or her problem. So it helps you. Always, check on someone more than one time. I think the best is at least 3 times in the practice. Because, sometimes to talk it out and to share it takes time. The person has to believe in you. And so, but if you're consistent telling and offering the help, they will share with you, and you have the chance to help someone. So speak kind and speak lovely. If you don't have a good thing, don't say it, because it will affect your energies. Because we say energies is only form but never destroy, right? So when you speak kind, you create a kindness to yourself. That person only probably receive somewhat percentage, but you're the one benefit first. So act in the same thing. When you act kindness, caring, already you feel good and feel happy. If you express gratitude, happiness is present right away. But if you act ungrateful, happiness is not there, but only sorrow and sadness and confusion, right? That's the energy. So giving some out and can see the breath. The second jewel is taking refuge in the Dharma for guidance. First one, I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Dharma is a teaching of Buddha. That's what it is. That's a definition. The teaching of the Buddha, in a nutshell, is understanding and love. It's not just love, or not just understanding, but it's love and understanding. And in order for you to truly love yourself and to love someone, you have to understand yourself. You have to understand others in order to provide the love, the true love for yourself and others. If you don't understand yourself, you cannot love yourself. If you don't know who you are, you cannot identify who you are. You don't know your own roots. You don't know your own skin color. You don't know your own culture, your belief, your talents. Then you don't have love for yourself. But if you understand who you are, you can identify who you are. You know your own roots. You know your own belief and faith. Then you have a true understanding. And true understanding leads to true compassion. And automatically you will know how to take care of your mental and your physical. No one needs to tell you, because all of you are very intelligent, very smart. You go to school, so you know how to eat what food is right for your body, what beverage is right for your body and mind. You know all that, and what you need to do to build a strong body and mind. If you understand, if your body will tell you all that, give you all the information to build this healthy mind and body. And second part, taking refuge in the Dharma, is dwelling in the refuge of Dharma. I learned to open many doors on the path of transformation. The Dharma is a teaching of the Buddha, a teaching of love and understanding, but there is 84,000 methods that the Buddha is giving. And all 84,000 methods is the way to help us transform our suffering, transform our negative habit energies, help us convert our energy in a positive way. Like, see, we have a habit of making fun of someone. That's negative energies. Because when you're making fun of someone might speak back to you, and someone might hate you, and someone might punch at you. Maybe it's a very angry person. And so now you know that you don't want to have this making fun of someone. You want to change this habit. That there is a practice in Dharma. The teaching of Buddha can help you to transform that. There's all kinds of practices that we can practice. But for most beginners, for every beginner, we start with meditation, mindfulness practice first, to help us understand ourselves and others, to help us be more mindful in our speech, in our thinking, and action. And so we have learned how to practice meditation in this retreat way. And I have shown you meditation. The aspect of meditation is stopping. Stop the action of thinking, stop the action of speaking, and stop the action of physical. So what you do, you sit still. And you sit still, that's not enough. You have to look deeply within. When you look deeply within yourself, you understand yourself, and only then you can understand what around you. Not looking deeply, and that's called compassion. Compassionate. So it's very important that we have a moment to practice meditation 5 to 15 minutes a day. It's a system. Recognize your in-breath and recognize your out-breath. Even right now, you're very tired and you're very boring, some of you. And I know you try very hard to really listen to what I'm saying. But try this. Why don't you close your eyes and take a deep in-breath and take a deep out-breath. Let your mind and body rest. And whatever I say, let it freely sow in your heart. It's not important. The important that you allow your body to relax and your mind to calm. You allow your body to rest and to be still. That's important. And if you fall asleep in my talk, that's fine too. I'm okay with that because I know that what I'm saying is so in your heart. It's penetrated in your heart. And maybe throughout this an hour lecture, you might remember only one word. So that's fine too. Meditation word, that's fine. But you will realize as you get older, you will understand more than just one word today that you listen, because everything we hear, we see, we taste, we touch, we smell, it's all stored in our stored consciousness. It's called alaya consciousness, which means the background consciousness. In the Western study, they refer to background consciousness. In Buddhist study, we say stored consciousness, stored in our consciousness. So I have nothing to worry whether you're sleeping or awaking and trying to listen. And the most essential basic practice of Buddhist teaching to avoid from doing bad deeds and that vow to do all the good action. And how we can do that is by always see in ourselves. Sometimes we have a negative thinking, we didn't realize that. Like thinking something bad about someone, that's negative. But you didn't realize that because you hate that girl. So you have the right to think negative about her. She's mean, she's always pick on you, he's always steal your stuff, and never ask when he take your stuff. He's always make fun of you. So here you're sitting and thinking negative about that person. You think it's right. There's nothing wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. That person's doing something wrong. Therefore, you have this negative thoughts. But you are doing harm to yourself, not to that person. That person doesn't care. When they make fun of you, that's their goal. Making fun of you. That they go to put you down. That they go to feel you intimidating you, making you feel inferiority. That's the goal. And here you sit and believe in that. Then you are surrendered to what he said, or what she said. So you sit here and think negative about that person. Then you are harming yourself. Or when you speak something, you speak back to your parents in a negative way. You make fun of your sibling, even you think it's harmless because he's your brother, and you deep inside you say, I love him, I love her, so I can say whatever I want. But it becomes a habit. I met this young, two young boys and their siblings. One is 13 and one 14. I was surprised that I sat there with them for just 5 minutes. Every word they opened their mouth, they cuss to their siblings. Every sentence, there is a cuss word. And at the point I count how many words he was using the word F to for their brothers and toward each other. Every sentence. And then when their mother came, and their mother was very embarrassed, that I'm sitting here and her son was speaking foul language. And so she was embarrassed, and she told him to smile to her older son, said, don't do that. She did that. A hand gesture, and he was pointing at her like that. Shut up, and he cussed at her. I'd never seen that. I went to a many retreat, and I sit with a kid, and I said, I need to talk to this guy alone. And so when the adult had section, I called this older brother to talk to first, because he's the one who punched his mother and saying bad word. And so I said to him, I said, do you realize that the whole conversation that you had with your brother, every word you use the word F, And I said, yeah, I know that. Why are you doing that? I don't know, it's just a habit I cannot change. Well, you need to change it. But I only say to him only. I don't talk like that to my friend. But you talk like that to your mother. I didn't say that. He said, I didn't say that. It's like he didn't admit that. Maybe maybe he did, in a habitual way that he did recognize that he did that, or he denied, I don't know. But he said he didn't point at his mother, he didn't cuss at his mother. And so I told him, if you don't change that behavior, you're going to hurt yourself, and you and your brother will get into fight someday without even know it, like in serious fight. So when we practice the dwelling in the Dharma, we know that we have to find a way to transform our habit energies. We have to change our negative energies, or negative thinking, or negative action and thinking. And there is, when you take refuge in the Three Jewel, you will make commitment to practice the 5 guidelines of Buddhist study. It's called 5 precepts. And these 5 precepts is like a mindfulness training. And it is very popular now that I see a lot of places that have practiced this. The first one is refrain from killing life, but to respect to all life, reference to all life. And every life is important, every life is precious, just like your own life. If you see your life and other life is important, then you will never have a tendency to harm any life. And even an ants too, or cockroaches, they like to live too. So when in your house there is ants and cockroaches, make sure you ask permission before you spray or before you sweep. Like for example, you saw there's a lot of ants in your kitchens. So before you use the spray, you ask tomorrow or the next day or the week you will use spray. And that's the practice of compassion. And they will listen, they will understand. And I have shown this practice to American friends, the Western friends. And so this Westerner told me that now he's taking refuge in Three Jewel. He's a Buddhist. There's a mouse in his home. So how do I take care of that now? But I want this mouse to stay in my home. So I told him, well, before you buy a trap, before you want to kill this mouse, tell the mouse first, give him at least a week or a month, and tell them, dear mouse, please leave my home. Because in a week or a month, I will buy a mouse trap. And you will trap in this cage, and you will die. You know what? Amazingly, the mouse left within 3 days. He doesn't know when the mouse, after 3 days, he didn't see the mouse at all. At all. That's one example. I have many examples. I'm not going to give you all. Because the Buddha said every living being has capacity to understand, has capacity to awaken. And so the ants, the cockroaches now might not speak the same language like us, but they understand our compassion or love. Because when you say something out, you giving the ant that kind of energies. So he was speaking kind to this mouse. So he was checking kindness energies through his speech. And therefore, you feel the energies. Right now, I feel your energies clearly. And I know, just looking in your eye, looking at your body movement, I can know what you are going through right now. So that's energies. And so he doesn't have to kill. So he had to return that trap and refund his money. And that mouse never come back again. Because we take compassion after that, he knows what he needs to do to take care of the house, so the mouse will not return. So he had to do the act of killing. Second is not to steal. Always ask. when you want something. Taking someone's stuff without asking is not the right thing. And I know one of this girl in this retreat, she had a key to her room. And I asked her, why you have the keys to your room, you lock the door? Because my mom took my stuff and never told me, never asked me. And so if you do that, you lose the trust in your sibling or in your children, in your parents. So when you want to borrow something from your parents or your siblings, make sure you ask permission first, so they don't have to feel angry when they couldn't find it. A third is sexual misguided. Not to sexual misguided, but to protect the happiness of others. And we're not going through this because we want each and every one of you, please protect yourself well. Please realize that you have very precious jewel in you, and this precious jewel will pass on to your children. Whether you become a monk like myself, you will still pass on to your student, or you as a lay women, and you will pass to your children. And so don't give this precious seed jewel to someone you don't know and you're not ready for it. You have to be ready with career, with your mind and your self before you want to give this body to someone. And so, I think you have to establish the career before you can do before you know who you want to give the jewel to protect happiness. It's the third precept, not to sexual misconduct. And the fourth, not to lie. Always speak loving language. And in order to speak kind language, loving speech, then we have to practice deep listening. If you don't practice deep listening and you don't have capacity to listen to someone, you will be directed by your emotion, by your anger, your frustration. It will direct you. You have to see your feeling and your emotion is like a current. Or we run like this. And if someone says something that offends you, then you will fight back, you will splash back, you will push back, and you will say and act in a violent way. Because imagine the water run like this smoothly, and suddenly there's a storm of wind come by. What happened? The water rises, right, and pushes against the wall or through the ground on earth, right? It's kind of expand and break that wall and overflow, rise the water and start hurricane and flood the whole place. So our emotion and feeling is the same way. So we have to practice listen. And how we can practice listening? We have to be mindful the whole time and listen to ourselves. And so when someone says something, we don't react. And so we step back and breathe, because that's what we're doing, practicing mindfulness. And so we're able to control our feelings, our emotion at the time. And the fifth precept is not to intoxicate the mind and body. Now it's just not alcohol, but there's drugs, magazine, books, film, conversation. Social media can be very toxic, and can be very addiction. And so I know, for those who's come here, I know you don't have that kind of addiction in social media, because otherwise you would everyone have the phone and stay in a corner. But you come here that shows that you have no addiction. There is maybe very little that can break. And so be very careful what you engage with, what you consume in conversation, in food, in beverage, in film, magazine, books, movie. Just make sure that you engage the right thing. And so to protect your mind and body. So the third one is in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Dharma in myself. I aspire to help all people fully master the way of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. So when you come in here and you practice meditation, you practice doing the mandala, you practice teamwork, everything you learn in here that you think is very valuable, is benefit to you, you have the responsibility to share with other friends. I want each of you at least share to one of your friends, at least one friend will learn your practice. We learn from you what you have learned here today in this retreat. Can you do that? At least one friend, we should share that. And if you have Facebook, Instagram, we post that in your Facebook, Instagram. We want a lot of positive posts in the Facebook or Instagram. Nothing positive. We need some positive more of those posts. And so we, at least one friend, you will share the practice meditation, the practice breathing, even the practice Qigong that you remember 16 movement. One movement is good. So, in other words, please, the third way of taking Dharma is to really aspire to help someone to understand the Buddha teaching, understand the wonderful practice that you have learned here and you're continuing to practice. So there's three parts in Dharma. You believe in the Buddha teaching, you draw it into the Buddha teaching to strengthen your practice and deepen your practice. And now the third part is you have to share to someone. So everyone can work together. Everyone can have love and compassion, because if only you have compassion, love, it's not enough. You don't have the strength or we don't have the strength to go forward. We need everyone to do together. Like yesterday we do a mandala, and I think Ann team had all the hands on their mandala artwork, and they said togetherness is stronger together. Yeah. And then, so everyone is practicing the same path. Right? And we'll wrap it up today. I know I only have about 15 more minutes. Third one, I take refuge in the Sangha for guidance. Now, in definition, if someone asks you the word Sangha, the Sangha means harmony. Harmony, that's what it is. Sangha means harmony. But Sangha consists of bhikkhu, which means male monk, and bhikkhuni, which means female monk, and lay man and lay women, boys and girls. That's fourfold Sangha. But the original word, the definition of Sangha is being harmony. And if someone asks you what Sangha consists of bhikkhu and bhikkhunis, monks, female and male monks, and laymen and laywomen. That's what the true definition of Sangha. So because Sangha means harmony, even if a monk does not live in harmony, then that monks are not Sangha. If your family is not living in harmony, then you're not Sangha, laymen and laywomen. So Sangha needs to be lived in harmony in order to consider Sangha. But we have monastic Sangha and we have a lay Sangha. Whereas monastic Sangha help the lay Sangha in spirituality, whereas lay Sangha help material, provide food, monetarily, to help build the monastery, to build temples, to benefit for everyone. Like when your parent came in here and volunteered to cook, to buy food for all of us to eat, to enjoy, right? And us as the monastic, as a monk, we provide our teaching, our practicing you. So we feed one another, we support one another. So we take, the first thing, take refuge, and we take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Now that you have the community here, and your friends and the monks here to help you, the Dharma teacher, you have to draw in refuge in a Sangha, shining light that support me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. So yourself also a Sangha. If you practice the Buddha teaching, if you live in harmony and awareness. And matter of fact, this is bigger Sangha than outside Sangha. Do you know how many trillion body cell we have? 60 60,000 trillion cells in this body. So this our body is like the whole cosmos, universe, bigger than outside. And how many people live in this world, on this earth? 7 billion. 7 billion. 7 billion. We have, but in our cell we have 60,000 trillion. And so there is a lot of living being in this body. We need to take care. That's what we say. The Buddha say, in order to love someone, you have to love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, these 60,000 trillion cells will fight you all the time, will generate you, will navigate you to do things that you will regret and upset you. But you're taking care of this body, you always direct you in the right direction, the right path. So the first, you have no practice, you have no guide, you take refuge in the Sangha of the monastic, of the lay who practice Buddha teaching. Once you have the harmony and the community harmony that you take refuge, you have to come back to yourself and join in that. And the third part taking refuge in Sangha is taking refuge in the Sangha in myself. I aspire to help all people build fourfold community, to embrace all beings and support their transformation. So you take refuge in the Sangha in the monastic. Now you take refuge in the Sangha in yourself. But after taking refuge in yourself, you have to portray yourself as a Sangha body, ready to help others. Whether if you're an artist, like Ray, she portrayed beautiful work and to let other teenagers to see build the confidence in love. And we had a good conversation last night. I told her that your artwork is like a 35 older people who can draw this work. I can't believe the 14 years old like you can draw this beautiful artwork, because it looked like someone who's much more mature in order to draw this artwork, but she did. And I encourage her that it's good to portray the difficulties and challenges that a teenager or the Asian and American woman going through. But I also encourage her to really show the way out as well, to how you can transform that difficulties, the hardship, the pain that she's painting. So she made that promise, and so we will see a lot of beautiful work from Ray in the future, and I think it's going to be very soon. So far from today. So if you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're good in math, good in science, whatever, and good in music, please help others too. Show others your beautiful work. And music, artists, music or art or math or science is a language. It's one beautiful language, and that language needs to be shared and to be heard and to serve for many people to be benefited by it. I know I only have opportunity to speak to Ray, but I'm sure there are more artists in this room because I saw your work yesterday, and I'm sure there's good writer in here too, and good math and then knowledge in science. So in other words, expand that and share that to many people. And I like to conclude, because I'm running out of time, because in this retreat, the theme of this retreat is to cultivate gratitude and believe and build strong and strengthen your three jewel is also a gratitude. Three jewel is one of the four gratitude, for depth gratitude. So, and I think if you practice in these three jewels well, you will know how to be grateful to yourself, to your parents, to your friends, to teacher, to all phenomena and all sensing in this world. Because as we discussed in our discussion, we see that everything the Buddha said is being very productive and very constructive, right? Very kindness and compassionate and love. And so you can practice that. You will always be grateful to whatever you have. If you're not grateful to what you have and you take for granted what you have, there will be never happiness in you. And that happiness will be very blurred and very shallow. Happiness can only build within yourself. Happiness can only build when you have gratitude, when you are grateful to whatever you have. Not the gift itself, but the love that is giving. The love that is giving. And I'd like you to do this practice. If you have a pencil, please write down. If at home you have an altar, please come to this altar before you leave your home and before you come home. Practice 6 bow, 6 prostration touching the earth as a new term. The first one, you would join your hand palm. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. And the second bow, you bow down, touch the earth. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. So the first one, I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. The second vow, I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. The third vow, I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that live in harmony and awareness. And the fourth vow, in gratitude to my father, my mother, who had given me life, I touched the earth deeply before the 3 jewels. Or you have a sibling, you simply say, in gratitude to our father and mother, who have given us life, we touched the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 direction. The fifth vow, in gratitude to our teachers who show us how to love, understand, and live in the present moment, we touch the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 directions. In gratitude to our teachers who showed us how to love, understand, and live in the present moment, we touch the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 directions. The sixth vow, in gratitude to our friends who guide us on the path and support us in difficult moments, we touch the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 directions. In gratitude to our friends who guide us on the path and support us in difficult moments, we touch the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 directions. So actually there's 7 vows. So the 7th vow. So in gratitude to all species in the animal, plant, and mineral worlds who support our life and make our world beautiful, we touch the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 directions. In gratitude to all species in the animal, plant, and mineral worlds who support our life and make our world beautiful, we touch the earth deeply before the 3 jewels in the 10 directions. So you see in Buddhist practice, when we bow, we're not worshiping, but we bow to pay respect, to cultivate love and understanding, and appreciate to life, just like Moji Mandala has shown you work yesterday. And I think if you practice 6 or 7 vows daily before you go to school and before you come home, you will strengthen your belief in yourself and then what's right belief, your parents, your teachers, and the world, but you also will cultivate compassion, understanding, loving kindness daily. And you will transform when you are encounter difficulties and challenges. You will know exactly what you need to do. So please practice that. Each bow, you read and you bow down. So please take one and we'll sing a gratitude song together. And the second time I ask T will lead all of us. So why everyone is singing a song, I will go ahead and sing the song so you know. So here's the song. In gratitude you have watered seas of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude I will water seas of love in someone too. I know you're there for me, and I am so happy. In gratitude you have watered seas of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude I will water seas of love in someone too. And when you suffer some, please call and I will come. So when I call you, you will come, right? And when you call me, definitely I will show up. Alright, so in gratitude you have watered seas of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude I will water seas of love in someone too. I know you're there for me, and I am so happy. In gratitude you have watered seas of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude I will water seas of love in someone too. And when you suffer some, please call and I will come. Thank you. So let's end with 3 sound and just take a 3 in and out breath. Thank you very much for your listening.